Okay, so here we are. Welcome to the Fife Property update and what's going on in the Fife property market overall in the last week just past. This is from the 14th of April to yesterday, the 20th of April. This shows you right across the market where it is. There's no surprise here, by the way, in the fact that the tables have turned. And let me explain why. Let's get the numbers up and dive right into this. This week, it's all changed straight away here. Now, when we look at the numbers overall, you can see in individual areas where it's all changed. I mean, if you look for Cooper example, 9 properties have come to market. Actually, 14 have actually sold in the same week. So it tells you straight away that Cooper's actually quite buoyant just now, but it was the other way around the previous week. So it's kind of evening itself out, which is actually quite good for the property market overall, because then it makes sure that there's a stable environment for property transactions. After all, that's exactly what we want to happen. East Nook 5 actually came on, 7 actually sold. For anybody that doesn't know what I'm doing here, this is the number of properties actually listed by regional, micro-region area in Fife versus the number of properties actually sold in the same week last week. This is all the estate agents right across the board. This shows you what's actually happening in the Fife property market. Now, if you look at the 139 at the bottom and 147, it tells you straight away that 20 people make a decision every single day to buy and sell a house in Fife. So every single day, you have your house on the market another day. There's another 20 people coming in. There's another 20 people leaving. There's another 20 people coming in. There's another 20 people leaving as every day goes on. So your market for the number of people actually looking at your property from day to day is adding 20 on, taking 20 off, because 20 are actually buying previously and 20 are actually coming on for the first time. And that's effectively how the Fife property market's working. Every single day, there's new properties actually coming on. There's 20 people coming on. There's 20 people leaving because they've now bought. And that's exactly how the perpetual cycle works. So how many people are actually looking for property in Fife? Well, to give you a rough idea, there's about, I would say, there's about 1,000 properties on the market right now. Just let me check with Zoopla. I'll just do a quick check with Zoopla right now, see how many properties are actually available for sale. So we're going to Zoopla. I do 5, and I'll just double check. There's just 1,071 properties. Now, if you look at that chart that we looked at, and I'll come back to there, and I'll bring that up again. There's 1,071. So if we take 147 actually sold, 1,071 divided by 147, it will literally take 7.28 weeks to sell all these properties, the 171, 1,071 properties, which means it takes on average 2 months to sell a property in Fife. Now there's a proviso here. Everything under, and I'll tell you, we did a show this week about this, what houses are selling the quickest, and which is it a 2 bedroom, is it a 3 bedroom, or what ones are actually the best overall in sales. Now, if you look at the numbers are in this post, you will see straight away that it's potentially everything up to a certain price point actually sells. Now, if you look on this post, you'll see the link to the 2 or 3 bedroom Fife Homes show that we did during the week, Richard and I. And it actually asks you which one sells fast. But what we did is we drilled down to the numbers as well and told you what price point actually sells faster and what price point takes a lot longer to sell. Now, there'd be no surprise if I said to you everything up to 300,000 sells pretty well and pretty quick, because it's affordability. Everything at 300,000 and onwards in price takes a lot longer to sell unless there's something unique about that property. And that's a fact. That's actually what's happening. That's what's happened in the first quarter of 2024 as well. So if you're on the market and you're beyond 300,000 and you're thinking it's not going according to plan, how you thought it would happen, then that's fine. There's no surprise there, because it's exactly what's happening in the market right now. There's no difference. It's not anything about your property. It's more than likely the buyer is not in the market and affordability is not there at that point in time. But 20 people make a decision in Fife every single day to come into the market and look for a property to buy because they are actually selling a property at the same time. And that's how that tells you right there, because that's the week, as I said before, and 140 a week is 20 a day. Okay, so hopefully that's given everybody an understanding of what's happening in the market. But just to finish off here, when we look at this chart, we've got St Andrews, 13 properties came on, 6 actually sold. And that was the other way around last week. Leadmouth, 10 versus 11, Dunfermline, 58 versus 64, Glenorchy's 15 versus 20. But again, there's more new builds coming into Glenorchy's area and Dunfermline area as well. It aren't reflected in these figures because they don't sell on Rightmove, but they all list on Rightmove. Kirkcaldy, 29 versus 25, but that's a true reflection in Kirkcaldy as well. So overall, 139 properties actually came onto market for sale, resale properties, not new build properties, and 147 of these actually sold in the same week. So going in the right direction in terms of the property market, in terms of the transactional numbers. Okay, let me talk about a show we did yesterday. Actually, this is quite a good show for anybody that's actually thinking about this. Have you outgrown your own home, the one that you're in right now? Well, this is about getting it right in time to upsize. Richard and I again did a show yesterday, the weekly property show, and we talked about the reasons that people will sell the property, the reason that people want to upsize, but how to maximize your potential when you're upsizing a property, how to get the best out of it, how to get the best price at the end, and what you need to do in order to get that best price. So again, the article's on there, the show's on there, and the podcast's on there as well. Now let's quickly talk about what actually sold with us in the week. Why did I talk about that? It's nothing to do with bragging. It gives you a really good idea about what prices are going for what types of properties and what areas overall. So quickly, I'll just briefly talk about what we've actually sold in the week. Now let's get that up again, and we'll just bring that on here. So this is East Links and Leaving. Sold in 2 months of coming back on. Now this was sold originally. So this was sold originally, but the difficulty here was it sold on based on somebody waiting to sell their house, and that never happened, or it was not going to happen. They were given a timeline to do it. They never hit that timeline, so it went on the market again, and it went back up for sale again. Now everything's all in place now. They were find a way forward. The person that's buying this one's actually sold as well, so everything's concluded and ready to go through. So that's why it was sold in 2 months. So 4-bedroom semi-detached house, and it was offers over 400,000 this was going for. So this was a fantastic property, but that's what the East Links area, semi-detached 4-bedroom is going for around about 400,000. Dura Den in Pitscotty is away. Now, this took a lot longer than usual to sell. It's quite a unique area, Dura Den, to live in. It's very, I would say, it's a nice countryside location. It is actually close proximity to Cooper, an easy proximity to get an easy travelling distance to get back into St Andrews. But it takes a unique type of person to actually buy this because it's a big property. It has a listing on it as well because of some of the features on the front and the stonework. So that made it a bit restrictive on what you could do with it. But it has an amazing garden. It's on a fantastic plot. So great potential overall. And this was on offers over 550,000, and this one sold as well. So again, as I said, it took a lot longer than usual. So see how the higher price points are taking average or a lot more than average to actually sell at this point in time. And then we come on to Dewars Building, Park Hill and Leaving. Offers over 65,000, went away in 4 weeks, done and dusted, 2-bedroom upper flat. Like I said, the lower value will sell pretty quick, or it will sell in a reasonable amount of time. But the most important thing you need to think about selling quick is it actually getting the right price that you're wanting, or is the right price on it? Because we can all set a home report through the surveyor, and that's what they do. But the true market value is determined by who's out there and who's prepared to pay a certain price to purchase the property itself. That is the true value of the property itself. It gets started off with a home report, but getting the right agent to negotiate the right price for you at the end is probably the most instrumental thing you can do. So having a really good negotiator on your side is probably the best way forward. But hold tight. That's what's happening in the market right now. Let's talk about what's coming to market now. When I'm mentioning these properties, if you're actually interested in some of these properties, then just message us direct with your contact details and mention the property in particular, and we'll get in touch with you and we'll take some details as well, and then we'll give you more information when we get more information on this property. And these properties are actually signed up but they'll be coming to market. They'll be getting a pre-portal done. They'll also be getting a listing done as well, all the details and the photographs. So we're just at this point telling you what's coming soon, so you can get a heads up on it, because you might have the exact area you're wanting that we're listing, and you might think, wait a minute, I need to get in there before everyone else. That's why it's important to do that. So if you're looking for Warwick, Bray and Glenrothes, a 3-bedroom terraced house will be coming on with us. Hoggate Avenue in Leven, which is a really good area, Scooney area. 2-bedroom ground floor flat, like Hens Teeth as well, actually, ground floor flats. They're very desirable for people downsizing. Very, very affordable as a result of that, and they're on the ground floor as well. One level living for someone. Pickford Crescent in Cellardyke, one of the most desirable places in the Cellardyke area. A lot of people want to live in Pickford Crescent. 2-bedroom semi-detached bungalow will be coming on soon. Victoria Road and London Links. There was an amazing 4-bedroom, actually 3 reception, I would say, to be honest. 4 bedrooms, 3 reception, semi-detached house on an amazing plot with fantastic views over the Firth of Forth. And most people will have seen the pre-portal I did on Friday, I think it was, a couple of days ago. If you're interested in that one, you probably need to be quick with that one, because we've got a lot of activity on it already, and we've not even got it on a website. And finally, the High Street in Achtermuchte, a 3-bedroom upper flat, is actually coming on as well. And so if you're interested in the Achtermuchte area, 3-bedroom upper flat, message us today. Okay, quickly, let's talk about what happened during the week. UK House Price Index was out. For Scotland and Fife. I always like to talk about Fife and the UK House Price Index, purely for the fact that it gives a great insight. Fife Properties, we do what we say in the tin. That's the only reason people actually click on our website, is because we're selling properties in Fife. What a fantastic name. Keywords exactly to what Google says. So House Price Index, for anybody who doesn't know what happened in the UK House Price Index up to February 2024, this is the government statistics. This is the facts. This isn't limited information based on who your mortgage is done by, like the Halifax or the Nationwide. And I would say it's the most pinnacle report that you would ever look for. It is the first report you should actually look for to gauge where the housing market is right now. But incidentally, what the UK House Price Index actually said about the average house price in Scotland has actually increased by 5.6%. That's their provisional estimate in the last 12 months to February 2024. And that was up from 4.2% in the 12 months to January just past. And it was higher than the UK average house price index inflation, because the UK average house price has actually gone down by 0.2% in the 12 months to February 2024. So the English market is actually not faring as well as the Scottish market, which is out there blazing the trail and leading the way. Scotland's annual house price inflation rose in 2024 because of the average house prices were falling more steeply between January and February 2023 than between January and February 2024. So it's almost an anomaly, if that makes sense. So let's see what happens next month. But it is positive news. It's the fact that Scottish house prices are actually still maintaining some sort of reasonable house price increase. Okay, so when we come to Fife, Fife didn't fare too well as such. Fife actually was a wee bit behind in terms of house prices. So we'll give you an idea where Fife is with house prices right now. The price change in Fife was down 0.8% year on year. The average house price in Fife is £164,719. Remember, that is average right across Fife. Some of the areas, like Levenmouth, I would say, and also East Neuk, are actually faring a lot better, because remember, this is an average, than some of the areas are not, I would say. So in particular areas, house prices are quite resilient. They're still managing to go higher than what they were 12 months ago, or even last month. But the key is to speak to an estate agent and get that knowledge about your particular area, what your micro region is. Now, the micro regions are split up really into 7 different areas. You've got Dunfermline on the west coast, you've got Central, you've got Kirkcaldy, and you've got Glenrothes, and then you've got you've got Levenmouth, and then you go up to getting into the east of Fife, which is Cooper, and then not and then East Neuk itself, that's Pittenwee, Manchester, Crail, and St Monans, and Collinsborough, and Ely and Errolsferry, and then you go across to the northeast of Fife, which is the St Andrews area, KY16. So that's the 7 microregions, and each of them has a different audience for it right now, and each of them have different price points and different increases or decreases in the current pricing strategy. But mostly the health of the Fife property market is determined by the number of transactions. And it's actually fared quite well if we look at the transactions for, look at December 2023, because all the transactions are through. So the transactional numbers for December 2022 was actually 514. The transactional numbers, number of houses sold every month, by the way, for December 2023 was 490, which is actually pretty good. It's quite stable then. That's actually a good sign for the Fife property market overall. That means it will still remain quite resilient, but people need to be aware. So if you're a seller, you need to be aware when you get past 300,000 of the price sensitivity. In other words, you need to have a good pricing strategy. Sometimes long gone are the days of just aiming for the stars and maybe catching the moon on the way down. You might want to actually realign your price in the beginning below the home value to encourage people to come in, to encourage them to see the property, to encourage them to go up. Because remember, they've got a lot of choice on the market right now than they had before. In the boom times, there was 500 houses on the market in Fife for sale. Now there's just over double. So it gives buyers a lot more choice. And also in the boom times, there was a lot more buyers. And now these buyers is almost half of what they were in the boom times. So you've got more stock, you've got less buyers. Therefore, you've got a recipe for a lot of choice. So you need to be real price sensitive. You can't, what you expected a year ago or 2 years ago is not what you should be expecting what the market's like right now. They are literally round about the home report value, sometimes just over the home report value. Sometimes some estate agents are actually getting under the home report value right now as well. So it's all round about there. Now, if you're going to get that for your house, remember, that's what everybody else is going to get for their house. So all you're doing is trading like for like. Just like in the boom times where you were getting, maybe if somebody was getting 20% for their house, they were probably going to have to end up, offering 20% for the next house that they were actually buying. So it was just trading like for like. That's all it's doing. So you need to be aware that that's where the current market is right now. And you're not going to get a flood of buyers through the door all the time, every time, like what we did in the boom times. It's going to be fewer buyers through the door, but more qualified buyers. And at the end of the day, you only need one to buy. That's it. So that's where the state of the Fife property market is overall, and the Scottish housing market, and probably the UK housing market as well. Rightmove actually asked me for a comment on it, and I've actually put that into them. So that'll be coming in a press release quite soon as well. Okay, so let's talk about finally. That's what's actually got over the line. So I actually like to talk about what's actually sold, keys handed over. There was a couple of properties actually sold and keys handed over this week. We had Hill Street in Cooper, 2-bedroom apartment, actually sold 7 months. It was on, it offers over 125,000. It went for just over the home report value for 127,000 to a first-time buyer. This is quite important. First-time buyers are the lifeblood of the market because they allow to buy at the lower end of the market, which is the less price, starter properties for first-time buyers. Then it allows that person in that property to then upsize to the mid-market properties. And then it allows people in the mid-market properties to upsize to mainly the family homes, which they're going to stay in for the next maybe 10 or 15 years while their family grows up. And then once the cycle happens, after about 20, 25 years, everybody leaves and goes to university and has their own place, and the children, and then eventually they downsize back into the bottom end of the market. So it's a natural cycle for the property market, but it typically now takes about 10 years for 50% of the people to actually decide to sell their property, and usually about 15 to 20 years for the next 50% of people to actually decide to sell or move with their property as well. So it's going to take a lot longer for people in the property market to move. When we were moving before the credit crunch, it was literally taking 7 years on average for most people to actually buy and sell, to stay in a house and then move a house. So it's literally taken about 7 years. Now it's taken anything from 10 to 20 years to do that. So you have to bear that in mind. Again, there's less buyers out there. They're taking a lot longer to buy. They're taking a lot longer to sell as well as a natural result of that. But it could be a good thing because it keeps a stability in the property market overall, keeps the price from actually dropping, and keeps a bit of demand there as well overall. Interest rates, are they actually going to come down? Interesting one. Interesting one, definitely. That's not a pun, by the way. Interest rates, interest rates. Are base rates actually going to come down? Well, there's a couple of things on the horizon. Inflation's dropped to 3.2%, which is good news. The Office of Budget Responsibility believe that inflation's going to drop further over the next couple of months, maybe to even come in line with the Bank of England's targets. But will the Bank of England actually reduce base rates? We're not entirely sure at this point in time because you have competing markets around the world, with China aggressively trying to grow, attract inward investment. That means if interest rates are high, people will put their money into China from abroad and overseas. And you've got America as well, who actually see their base rates potentially going up to, well, the head of JP Morgan announced that their base rates could be potentially going up to about 8% in the bank. Which is actually quite quite high in comparison to where we are. I don't think that's going to ever happen in the UK. But the thing is driving the less of a drop in inflation right now is it went down to 3.2%, but it was food prices that was actually driving that. But the key here was the other side of 3.2%, fuel prices are beginning to move up again overall. So you can see that if you look on the forecourt at the petrol stations, fuel prices are beginning to go up again. So will that actually curb inflation from actually dropping, which might have an implication on the Bank of England actually dropping base rates overall. Unemployment's gone up to 4.2%. From the 3% levels. So that could be another economic indicator which suggests to the bank to maybe ease off on base rates or maybe not increase base rates any further, even if inflation goes up, because unemployment's going up. Therefore, you want to still encourage people to invest to create jobs overall and businesses to survive as a natural result, because that brings in more tax receipts to the actual government, therefore able to run public services. There was an indication during the week that the International Monetary Federation, the IMF, not the Mission Impossible IMF, but the IMF, International Monetary Federation, which actually exists, were actually suggesting that the UK borrowing was actually getting concerningly high UK borrowing, and they were actually asking to rein back, which is conflicting with the budget Office of Budget Responsibility, who actually says the UK is in quite a good position. So, we'll have to see what happens in there. What does that mean for you and the property market itself? Now's the time to buy, definitely. There's no doubt about that. Circumstances will not change, but remember, if interest rates go up, how will that affect you as a buyer? Yeah, you probably won't be able to buy. Whereas you fix your deal right now, that gives you certainty in terms of buying. Should you sell now, or will you get a higher price later on? Well, my advice again is you sell now. And you price it appropriately, and you just be aware if it doesn't happen for you in the first 4 to 6 weeks, you need to seriously have a chat with your estate agent about possibly realigning your price point, because now that means if there's not a lot of viewers coming in, by the way, in the first 4 to 6 weeks, you maybe need to have a chat with your estate agent about the fact that you should be realigning your price point to introduce it to a new audience, because the longer it stays, the more was it the more risk? No, it's not, maybe not the more risk, but the more open, or the more amount of change can actually happen in the UK economy, which could change what your thought processes are right now, and which could change what people think in terms of buyers should think in terms of buying. It could end up putting a lot of buyers off who are actually in the market right now for your property, but you're just not attracting them at the right price point in order to make that happen. Remember, you're trading like for like. This is all about trading like for like. You're trading the same sort of prices for the same sort of prices if you're moving and if you're buying and selling in the same area. If you're getting 5% over, you're probably not expected to pay more than 5% over for your next house. That's probably what you have to understand if you're in your area, because it's that micro region that will determine it, and the number of people that are looking to buy in that particular area at one point in time. But if I drive back to your numbers, and I'll quickly do that and I'll show you for a microregion, for example. In that example there, when we said 20 people make a decision every single day, if it was 9 in Cooper instructed and 9 actually sold, then basically one person a day in the Cooper area makes the decision to buy and sell a property. So if you've got a house for sale in the Cooper area, you know you're adding on a new buyer every day by keeping your house in the market for another day. But an older buyer is actually dropping off because they're going on to buy a property which is sold. So that's how that technically works. And the same with East Neuk. It's almost 7 versus 7. So again, one buyer in East Neuk every single day gets introduced and makes the decision to buy and sell a property in the East Neuk area. It's 2 for St Andrews at this point in time. Leavenmouth is about 2. Dunfermline's about, when you look at that number, about 58. Then you divide that by the 7. You're looking at Dunfermline's about 8 people make a decision every single day to buy and sell a property in the Dunfermline area. Remember, that's quite a big area. 2 people in Glenrothes, and you've got about, I would say, about 4 people in the Kirkcaldy area. And that makes up that 20 overall if you add them all up together. Hopefully that's given everybody a good insight into the microregions and how many people make a decision in your microregion every single day to buy and sell a property. When we get to the end of this month, we will look at the whole of April in a summary format. So you'll see all the transactions for April actually listed and every single number of transactions actually bought in the same period, and be able to get a real good handle on what's actually happening in the property market overall. But all this information that's on here, the podcasts that we're doing, the articles that we're doing, all the information that we're putting out is all factual information, and we're helping you to be able to bring it together and to make an informed decision on facts rather than actually just maybe someone else's opinion about how well they think your house is going to sell. That's effectively it. Because everybody likes to say to their friends, "Oh, your house will sell quick." Okay, but how do you know that? Where did you get that information from to be able to say that? What evidence do you have to suggest that? Oh, that one down the road sold really quick. Oh, but that one's priced at half the price of mine. That's why it would sell. But it's no reflection on how mine would sell, and that's the typical example of usually what happens when people talk to each other, as a result of that. So hopefully that's given you a real good insight into what's happening in the market just now. As I said, there was another one that sold as well, just to come on to that, what was sold in the week, Stowville Cross and Markinch, 2-bedroom, semi-detached house. That actually sold in 2 weeks, but no surprise, it sold for the home report value, 175,000. But the point was, it was priced at the right price in the first place by the surveyor. That's the key here. If you've not got enough evidence to play on in order for comparables in the area, to show you what another house is sold for, it's similar to yours, then there's no way a surveyor can really come up with the right price point in the first instance to actually say that's what it should be on the actual home report itself. Because we have a similar house that sold maybe a month before at yours, which is exactly the same as yours, and there's no difference really. So therefore, that's the price of your house on the home report. That's why it's important to speak to an estate agent. But also, when you get an estate agent round, that's why it's important to get evidence from him about where they got that price, where they got that valuation from, why they think it's that number. So if you ask an estate agent for a value of your house and they say, for example, it's 200,000, the next question out of your mouth should be, how do you come to that number? Where's the evidence to show that it is 200,000? And they should be able to show you exact comparisons of properties similar to yours, or could be similar, plus or minus any adjustments and improvements or dilapidations, would actually bring it back to that number. If you've sold your property or you bought your property in the last 3 or 4 years, or maybe even the last 6 or 7 years, it's easy for an estate agent as well to actually take the original purchase price you had and index it up based on the house price index, because it's a factual index based on what house prices are doing, and then adding on any increase you make by any improvements you've done to your property. For example, if you bought it for 100,000 and you did 50,000 pounds worth of improvements, and it was genuinely 50,000. I mean, the windows were falling out, so you replaced them, and the kitchen was not that fantastic, and it was really seeing better days, and they replaced it, and then the wiring had to be done because it was completely out of date. That's £50,000 worth of improvements. So that means your house is really at a base value of 150,000. And then if you've got an appreciation over the last 6 years of 37%, then it would be 150,000 multiplied by 1.37, which would mean your house would be £205,500. 200,000. So it's all coming round to about the same value. That's how you work out exactly. And then you take your house and you look at what's on the market at that price point, and then you compare it to what everybody else is actually selling theirs for. And you kind of think, if yours is 200,000, look at everything in the 200,000 price band and think to yourself, would someone buy yours? Be honest with yourself, by the way. Would someone buy yours, or would they buy that other one that's listed just now? And if the answer to that is to buy the other one, if you're honest with yourself, then the price that you've got is maybe a bit high, if that's the case, if you want to price it appropriately. Because if you've only got one buyer, for example, and you snook every single day coming in and going out, effectively, that's the person that could end up buying the one that's more attractive than yours, and you've lost that buyer. When in actual fact, if you're priced appropriately, you would have had your house sold. That's how you do estate agency. That's how you get the valuation of your property, and that's how you price appropriately for your property to the right people, to attract the right people through the door so you can qualify them, or so you're at a stage and can qualify them overall. Okay, let's finish off there because we've done all that. We're just going to talk about the Wealth Creation Show quickly. Richard and I will be doing the Wealth Creation Show tomorrow. We will be talking about the final part of Happiness and Prosperity, part 3. I'm still working on that myself, as most people are. It's a journey. It's not a destination, remember. And this is all about the one that we're going to talk about is the 5 steps to happiness and prosperity. So if you're lacking happiness and prosperity, which is mainly everybody, at some shape, at some point in time in their life, this is probably the element, the show that you should be watching at 12:30 tomorrow and taking part. You could ask questions as well live because it's all live. There are key elements to achieving happiness and prosperity, and knowing what these are can help you set your goals. By the way, everybody talks about setting goals all the time. Sometimes there is no need to set a goal at all. And I'll tell you why tomorrow on the Wealth Creation Show at 12:30 live. Until next time, guys, have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and bye-bye for now.